forsaken booth. The truth is you sadly mistaken. Proof I'm better than.
Welcome to 3 Count Commentaries. We're going to talk about Smackdown from February the 11th, 2022. In which case, it was a very mediocre to poor Smackdown, but there was 2 matches that were really good, even though both of them were rematches. Again, with the rematches and the 50-50 booking, they are really not trying. The road to WrestleMania used to be the most exciting time to be a WWE fan. Now it is a time where you trudge through miles and miles of garbage before you finally put one toe over the finish line, finally get to WrestleMania, and then look back and say, was all of it worth it? And usually the answer is no. Sometimes the answer is no. So we're still trudging through the mud currently. And usually before we get into the shows, there's news and notes. I can't really figure out what news or notes are out there. There's a couple of funny things, though. So there's no real news, but WWE had the wrestlers send out a bunch of WWE influences the world tweets, and everybody used the exact wording. It's so hilariously lazy. It's awful. So this is what occurred. Apparently the WWE is being obviously being supported in Saudi Arabia. So there's a billboard out there that has the women on it, and Becky Lynch kind of talked about, hey, this is the first time the women have actually been advertised for a show in Saudi Arabia. And it was this big deal, and it became WWE influences the world. And so all of these minor bit players, a lot of them, Bianca Belair was one of them, but she's a major player, so I shouldn't say bit players, but there was a lot of people from like NXT and stuff like that was retweeting the billboard saying WWE continues to influence the world. WWE continues to influence the world. And everybody was like, it's such a cult. It's a cult. They're holding people hostage and making them tweet this. It's like it's a PR statement. It's a bullshit PR statement. Nobody cares about this shit. But it's funny, but it's not funny, right? Because when there's this clip that's out there. It is of news anchors from a lot of different stations, smaller stations, like your local stations. And they're all given the same exact verbiage of how misinformation is a threat to our democracy. And it becomes this almost cult-like video. I wish I could put it in the video without probably getting a copyright strike. But you could probably find it if you wanted to. It's essentially what happens is a lot of these smaller stations are owned by a larger station. And then they get the note, the memo, read this on the air. So they pick somebody who reads the statement on the air. And then somebody compiled all of these people saying the same statement as they finish each other's sentences to show you that, there are people who are sort of pulling the strings above all of this. So it's essentially the same thing that, WWE sent out this memo telling everybody, say WWE influences the world. And everybody was like, WWE influences the world. WWE influences the world. It was real robotic. Some people added a little extra flair to it. Some people just put WWE continues to influence the world in big bold letters. It's absolutely asinine. And it it just goes to show how ridiculous corporate PR can really be. At the very least, though, I would say it's shameless self-promotion and not necessarily full-on propaganda. Like when we talking about the news anchors basically saying the same thing over and over again, it was essentially propaganda. When it comes to WWE talking about how they influence the world, sure. It's a little tasteless that everybody is now saying the exact same thing in the exact same tweets. And people were able to collect them to see it, that they was actually being told to do this. But I'm not surprised. When you are in a corporate environment, dictates come from the top. This is what you say. This is what you avoid saying. So it makes the it makes things uniform. That's a little bit different in a corporate structure in WWE than it would be in like a news station. Because a news station is supposed to be filled with people who, at the very least, are trying to provide you with good information. And here they're talking about, other people are misinformation. And it's a real threat to our democracy. It's horseshit. Here though, is a bunch of throwaway tweets from like Amari Miller and Dante Chen and a couple of other people. But it's still funny that WWE got busted doing this. And that's why you don't do mass PR marketing like this. But a lot of these accounts are run by WWE anyway. I don't know who runs their own Twitter account. It's almost impossible to know. I know some people do. A lot of people don't. So a lot of these accounts might just be WWE tweeting from these other people's accounts. WWE continues to influence the world, and just boom, WWE continues to influence the world. Boop, WWE continues to influence the world. Boop, and that's it. Sometimes these people might not even know the shit getting tweeted out. But there was also this chick, I think it was MJ Jenkins, who mentioned that she was still getting. This was over a year ago. It's like 2020. After she got released, she was still in the NXT group text. So when something else occurred that they were all tweeting about, she tweeted out like, I'm still in the group text. A lot of people are just tweeting out stuff that were in the group text, So that's how they get down, man. They send a group text, hey, it would be nice if you said yada, 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 or here's what we would prefer you to say about this tweet, about, really kind of blow this thing up. And so she kind of outed this over a year ago. So WWE been doing this kind of stuff, man. Of course they want you to support these supposedly cultural changing things that she's try to make WWE influences the world trend or something stupid like that. It's horse shit. I really wish they really wish they didn't do stuff like that, especially over the Saudi Arabia stuff. Because of course, every wrestling website, they only care about Saudi Arabia 2 times a year. But so many of them all of a sudden, I think that Brandon Thurston guy, he went on a goddamn rampage on Twitter talking about how horrible Saudi Arabia is, and WWE doesn't care about cultural change in Saudi Arabia. They only care about money. And I'm just kind of like, so what? I don't give a fuck. There's chunks of that money, $50 million. It's 10% of WWE's gross, blah, 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 blah. I'm like, okay, so it's not, the other 90% comes from somewhere else. I don't care, man. This shit is not that big of a deal to me. Saudi Arabia is bad. It is. A lot of bad governments out there. I really wish they wouldn't do business with the Saudi government. I really wish they wouldn't. But they do. And so it's 4 years of this same argument. It's not going to change things. The only thing I'm saying is, are the boys and the girls getting paid? And it seems like they are. It seems like it's a nice paycheck because everybody's trying. Only like a handful of people are deciding they're not going to go. And some of them are not going to go on moral grounds. Some of them are not going to go because they ain't been asked. But the paycheck is big enough that there's going to be quite a few people who are going to make the trip. And to me, I look at the kids. They're the important thing. And this is probably going to be the biggest payday some of the performers on the show are going to make. Maybe all year next to WrestleMania. What's the problem? Oh, it's coming from the blood money from the Saudi government. I don't know, man. I think you I think you might want to well, sure. You can talk about how bloody the Saudi government is. All right, we can talk about that. I think that you are missing the point. Almost all governments are the exact same way, dog. Just to different degrees. Oh, but women can drive cars in the United States. I'm like, look, I could talk to you about Waco, where your American government, Bill Clinton to be exact, burned and murdered dozens of children that were in I wouldn't call it a mansion. Let's call it a compound. How about they never run a show in Philadelphia again after what happened to the Move House, where, all of those black people were bombed. They had a literal bomb dropped from an airplane onto their house. This was in 1983 or something like that in Philadelphia. I mean, the world is an ugly place when you talk about governments. It is what it is, man. But, that was like one of the funny things that occurred is WWE got busted sending out PR statements through the wrestlers who they probably control their accounts too, by the way. Hey, this is a little peek behind the curtain. This is edited Mongo. I forgot to talk about Lita. So Lita was indeed asked why she was performing in Saudi Arabia after she criticized the Saudi shows back in 2018. This was something that I saw on TV, on the internet, but I forgot to mention it. So I'm going to put it in here. I don't know how long this video is going to be after I talk about this, but fuck it. We're doing it, all right? Fuck it, it's going in. So this is from No DQ. Apparently, back in 2018, Lita criticized the Saudi shows by saying, quote, I understand that they are a business, a global business, and they are always looking to expand their global presence. However, I do feel this was a direct conflict of interest with them maintaining any integrity or truth to the fact that they say they would like to push forward women, their roles and their reputations in the business as anything resembling equal to male. And so that was 2018 Lita. So this is 2022 Lita after she's accepted the deal to wrestle Becky Lynch in Saudi Arabia. This is what she says. I was outspoken on the early relationship between WWE and Saudi. Oh, they say they want women to wrestle over there, but like, I don't know if I believe it. There's no women on this card. There's women on the card now, and I've talked to the women personally. They have been over there, and they're like, it's unbelievable. There are women crying, never thinking they would get to see two women be so strong in the ring. They're like, it's really powerful. You're going to enjoy that. And so, sure, do they have a long way to go? Do we as a society have a long way to go? Absolutely. But you've got to take the opportunities when they're there. So Lita is saying, essentially, 4 years ago, they were not as far along as they are today. They've improved on my major bone of contention. She is allowed to change her mind. I did see over the course of many days, so many people who are upset at Lita for daring to accept to go over to Saudi Arabia, and of course looked up, they dug up, they tried to cancel Lita. You know, this was a minor canceling. This was a flesh wound of a canceling. They're just basically calling her a hypocrite, that she's taking blood money, and it was even made worse when they found out she actually had an opportunity to go wrestle in AEW. I'm not going to talk about that. I don't care. So apparently, all Lita's was like, everybody's like, oh, Lita sold out. She it was for the money. It's for the money. Yes, I'm pretty sure the money helps. But if her main bone of contention was that you guys were in the middle of this women's evolution thing, and then you go to Saudi Arabia where there's no women on the card, even though they did have a women's evolution show not shortly after that. They did have a women's, and Lita was on that show, by the way. If that changed, then her opinion would change. People are allowed to change their fucking minds. All right? Now, I'm not saying she didn't sell out. She no doubt did. I'm sure the money helped grease the palms and made her forget a lot. But ultimately, she knows she ain't got a lot of time left. It won't be long before people are not clamoring to see Lita wrestle anymore. You know, it's going to be a time where people are not going to be like, oh, Lita, it would have been cool 5 or 6 years ago, but not today. And some people are even saying that right now. I know that there's a specific website that took some shots at Lita for taking this match. There's been a couple of wrestling journalists have tried to call themselves calling her out. Really, you can't call out people when you don't, you know, like, it's not your decision to make whether you're going to go to Saudi Arabia or not. Like, all these people who are talking about it, you know, no DQ and cage side seats and all them, you could just easily boycott WWE if that's what you wanted to do. I mean, put your money where your mouth is. You know, stop covering WWE until they stop doing business with the Saudi government. So let's see how long that lasts. Put your money where they're doing Saudi propaganda, blah, blah, blah. All right. Stop doing videos on it. Stop talking about it. Stop doing articles. Just, you know, if I felt that strongly about it, if I truly cared, I wouldn't be trying to profit off of call out cancel culture bullshit. Lita changed her fucking mind because what she was complaining about is no longer a problem. It's been 2 or 3 years of women actually being on these Saudi shows. There was no women on the first one. They kind of got You know, they had rushed matches on, I think, 2 or 3 of them before they really got a chance to really settle down and have matches. Now she's saying, okay, there's going to be some things that need to change as far as the long sleeves and everything. Got to respect the culture while you're over there. But she's talked to women and said, who's been there, and said, you know, this is a great experience. You know, it's different, of course, but they had fun. And so Lita like, fuck it, I'm going to do it too. You know? Nobody told her, hey, we got kidnapped in a hotel, tied up, bound, and gagged with knives put through our throat by a bunch of fucking Aladdins, and then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, we found our way back home. No. It was a simple situation where, hey, you know, it's a good place and things are changing. And she's like, well, we gotta take what we can get. And I'm sure the money helped. Yes, I'm sure the money helped. In any event, the second thing that I thought was pretty funny was Toni Storm trending on Twitter. I was like, wonder what's that about? They're talking about her losing again. They're talking about her signing to AEW or something like that. So I looked, and she asked on Instagram, should she start an OnlyFans page? And I was like, holy shit. Now, wait a minute. Let's not judge her too much. Let's think about this for a minute. Let's be rational people. She already got leaked nudes. We don't need her OnlyFans page. So, no, I'm sorry, Toni. The leak has already occurred. We've already seen the goods. I'm sorry. I can't simp the OnlyFans page. The goods have already been given away for free years ago. So, no, maybe you shouldn't. Maybe, you know, I don't know. Maybe it's been updated. Maybe there's more to it. I don't know. But, you know, I've seen a lot already. You know, we've seen a lot already. All right, so let's get into this show finally. I'm sorry I spent 10 minutes on Saudi Arabia and Toni Storm. Okay. So Sonya and Ronda, they showed the attack, and Sonya says that Ronda attacked her, and she suggested that Sonya Deville suggested that Ronda is fined $100,000 and suspended indefinitely. Adam Pearce read a Mr. McMahon statement that Sonya's abuse of power, and he hates people that abuse their power, and declined to fine or suspend Ronda Rousey. In addition, he is just now hearing 6 months after the fact that Sonya Deville has been abusing her authority in terms of Naomi as well. So she is not to touch Naomi at all, or her position will be in jeopardy. Naomi came out there and then smacked Sonya because, well, Sonya can't touch her, but she can touch Sonya. So she smacked Sonya. It makes no sense that she'd be able to smack Sonya, considering, you know, the whole thing with Sonya still being the boss is still in place. So couldn't she have made this a harder match than they would have normally have been? She didn't need to put her hands on her. Again, this is an improper use of Sonya's power. You know, Sonya can say, look, I told you, as long as I'm wearing this jacket, you can't do anything to me. And maybe I was abusing my authority before. Maybe I can't hit you. That doesn't mean that this match has to be fair, you know, or whatever. So they gave Sonya a lot of comeuppance the last 2 weeks, which is not really good, considering I think they're still trying to drag this thing to WrestleMania. And we still don't know why this is occurring, by the way. Anyway, there was a couple of interstitials for Charlotte cackling like a villain and talking about how she's going to beat Naomi. And then at about 9:30, Naomi started coming to the ring. And I was like, what do you mean? What do you mean? There's so much time left on the clock. I'm like, huh? Sonya Deville and Naomi, they did, I'm guessing somewhere in the neighborhood of 20 some odd minutes, 22 minutes or something like that. This match was long, but it was pretty good. It was pretty good, and the crowd loves Naomi and was super duper hot for Naomi. They were super duper hot for Naomi. And there was some really good high flying from Naomi in here. She did that She did a flying flippity-doo over the top rope. Nailed it perfectly. Didn't destroy Charlotte's knees or ankles or anything like that. This was simply a match of athleticism versus athleticism. Charlotte is a very athletic wrestler. Even though her moonsault doesn't look very good, her double moonsault looks even worse. Speaking of her double moonsault, it was countered into the rear view, and she only got a 2 count. Later, Naomi hit the split leg moonsault. She also got a 2 count on that too. So both of Naomi's finishes got kicked out of. Both of her finishes got kicked out of. And Charlotte wins with the natural selection. So this was a very good match. Probably the best Naomi match ever. Now, I don't know if that's saying much, but this is no doubt, without a shadow of a doubt, to be quite honest, the best Naomi match that has ever occurred. It's certainly the best one I've ever seen. This match was phenomenal. It wasn't a traditional wrestling match, though, because Naomi isn't a traditional wrestler, and neither is Charlotte. But it was a fun match. Some really, really good near falls. The top rope blockbuster from Naomi was a tremendous spot. Some really good hope spots in there. We truly believed, at least I truly believed, that Naomi was on the verge of winning. And that the ball just kind of rolled the wrong way at the end. The end was kind of botched too, because it was clear that, Naomi was waiting for Charlotte to get in position so they can do the rear view into the chop block into the natural selection. That was the only part that kind of stunk the joint up, is Naomi was kind of waiting for Charlotte to get on her feet so that they could do the finish spot. And then she did it in slow motion so that Charlotte could really, get the knee and everything. And I was like, didn't like that part, where she slowed up at the end. But for the most part, the match was pretty solid. Best Naomi match of all time. So after she beat Naomi, Charlotte, kind of go away to celebrate her victory. Sonya Deville came out there to berate Naomi for losing. And then Naomi kind of fired up on her. Started hitting. Sonya Deville and Charlotte attacked Naomi from behind. Sonya and Charlotte continued to pound on Naomi until Ronda Rousey came out there and made the save. Ronda got a really big pop for making the save, which was the desired result. And now we ended the show with Naomi and Ronda standing arm in arm, or shoulder in shoulder, as Sonya and Charlotte kind of flee the scene. And so the match was announced. Ronda Rousey and Naomi versus Sonya Deville and Charlotte at Elimination Chamber. And the weird thing about all this is that as I was laughing at the internet, the wrestling journalists who only care about Saudi Arabia 2 times a year act like they're complete and total real activists for Saudi Arabia. Oh my God, the LGBT can be killed in Saudi Arabia. And now WWE is going to put an openly gay wrestler in Sonya Deville, and she's female, in a match at an Elimination Chamber. So if Sonya Deville if she doesn't get the guillotine while she's over there, I don't know, man. Is that what we're expecting? Sonya Deville to go over there and then they can say, "Oh, wait a minute, she's gay. We gotta cut her head off, Vince. I'm sorry. We'll give you another $25 million, but we gotta cut this chick's head off. We got to. We gotta throw her off a roof or something. It's just our way of life. You gotta respect our culture." I don't believe that's gonna occur. So WWE definitely gonna rub that in your face as soon as it happens. If it happens. Granted, nobody catches COVID, or the Saudi prince doesn't, get the heebie-jeebies about it. Because despite the fact that a lot of people talk shit about Saudi Arabia, I actually have paid attention to other people who follow Saudi Arabia, because I do actually care about this kind of stuff. Human rights abuses is a real problematic thing. You'd be surprised how much heat he gets for some of the marginal reforms he's done. Like, the Saudi prince hasn't done that much in terms of changing the entire culture of Saudi Arabia. It's going to take forever to do that. You're talking about a country that is backwards as shit. But just the marginal things that he has done has pissed off a lot of people. Again, he has the power to do it because he's, the crown prince. But that doesn't mean that everybody likes it. Part of the reason why Saudi Arabia is the way it is because that's the way the people want it to be. They're not Americans. That's the most important thing people need to understand. This is what led to the Iranian Revolution. I hate to get so political on you guys, but I just want to give people a full understanding. There are certain people who want to live a certain way. Okay? When the Iran, before the Iranian Revolution, they were rejecting. There was, the rank and file Muslim population. A lot of them rejected a lot of the Western cultural stuff. They had movie theaters and Coca-Cola and all that shit in the 40s and 50s. And then they started saying, no, we need to be more of a religious society. And they rejected all that Western shit. And that's where the Ayatollahs and all them came from. So a lot of these societies is the way people wanted them to be. They're not Americans. They don't value the same things that you value. They may not see that there is a problem with the way that they live. And if you actually did learn about Saudi Arabia, you'll know that even the small things that he did do, like allowing women to drive, that's a big issue in that country. Because there's a lot of people who are against that. And you have to be careful with that kind of stuff. Because then they'll start saying he's westernized and that he's not a real Muslim and all that kind of shit. And then who knows what might happen. So you have to this is why you should not get geopolitical stuff from wrestling journalists. They don't know what the fuck they're talking about. But I will say this. Don't really like Saudi Arabia. It's just a place where the shows are held. No different than South Dakota as far as I'm concerned. But if you're going to dig into the country and try to learn about it, and even if it is just to talk shit about it, you probably need to know what you're dealing with. And you're dealing with some real shit. There's a lot of Muslims out there that do not want your way of life. They don't give a fuck about wrestling. All this shit is haram anyway. As far as they're concerned, they don't fuck with this. Especially, it's entertainment, and that's kind of how they're taking it in, because there's Muslim societies that really do like wrestling. And I don't mean like WWE wrestling. I mean like real wrestling. Like Iran, I keep saying Irania. Iran had a wrestling team. Even after the Shah was taken out, they still had a wrestling team. They still have wrestling like Iraq. Fucking Saddam Hussein liked wrestling. So they like sports, but they don't mean they like the shit that you like. So this cultural expansion of Saudi Arabia it's a major thing, even if it's just a dribs and drabs. Even if it's just a little. People don't like that shit. So WWE is about to bring a gay wrestler over there. And if she does something crazy like wear a pride flag, that shit gonna get ugly quick. I hope she don't do it. I really hope she don't do it. Something tells me she might, though. Something tells me she might. All right, let's get off the subject of fucking Saudi Arabia and these chicks all of a sudden. The Ronda Rousey, Sonya Deville tag team match thing, it's gonna be okay. Naomi's finally gonna get her win back over Sonya. It'll probably just be Ronda making Sonya tap out, though. And that's probably going to be the long and the short of it. But it is what it is. All right. Los Lotharios, the Lethal Lovers, defeated the not New Day, Big E, and Kofi Kingston. Now, apparently, there's so much to discuss here. The internet has figured out that Vince McMahon does not want Big E and Kofi Kingston being called the New Day. And they're now demanding that Kofi Kingston and Big E be called New Day because the wrestling journalist said that Big E and Kofi Kingston are not going to be called New Day. That can't be good for anybody. That ain't no good. Well, we know that they're New Day. I'm like, dude, chill out. They just didn't call them New Day. They're not calling Jurassic Express anymore either. I don't see if y'all noticed that. But since Marco Stunt disappeared, they've been calling Jurassic Express Jungle Boy and Luchasaurus. I've noticed that. A lot of people didn't say anything about that. I don't know why they wouldn't call them New Day. Seems silly to me. But WWE is bound to do silly shit. That's why I started this thing with the whole WWE influences the world cult-like behavior PR statement, because people do horse shit like this. We know this is New Day. They still have the New Day theme. It's still New Day on the Trons. It's New Day. All right, but they just call them Big E and Kofi Kingston, and people flipped out over it. But the Lethal Lovers, Los Lotharios, this was all about them this week. They started calling them the Lethal Lovers. And wrestling journalists, of course, everybody did their Googles. And they found out that there was a duo of serial killers or something like that who were called the Lethal Lovers. And they were like, WWE clearly does not do their Googles when they come up with these nicknames or anything. So it's Gwendolyn Graham and Kathy Wood, the Lethal Lovers from the 1980s. They killed 5 elderly women in Walker, Michigan. So 2 lesbian women, apparently, murdered 5 women in Michigan. And people were like, oh my goodness, WWE needs to do their Googles. You know, kind of like, well, yeah, probably not a good idea. At the same time, who gives a fuck? Really? I think both of these women are dead. Are they dead? Oh, nope, they might still be alive. In any event, I'm pretty sure no relation. Okay? No relation to the two lesbians who went on a killing spree. But they're calling them the Lethal Lovers now, which is probably should have been their names from the beginning. I like that name better than Los Lotharios, what I think means the lovers. Anyway, they got a little bit of promo time before the match. During their intro, they got the kiss cam, which I'm pretty sure, I don't know if I said they should do that, but I'm glad that they did. They should bring back the part of Angel's character where he gives away flowers and stuff. They need to bring that back too. But they found this nice young lady who was no doubt a plant, and they both kissed her on both cheeks, and it looked so it looked like such a plant thing to do. But it really gets over their characters. They're 2 great looking dudes. They had no business losing last week, so they won this week. Not thrilled about the 50-50 booking. A lot of people are still upset about Big E. We'll talk about that momentarily. But this was all about Los Lotharios. I'm a big fan of both of these guys. I've been preaching how good Angel Garza has been for over a year. And I was one of the people who said that Humberto needed more of a chance when he was getting jobbed out and beat up by, who was beating him up every week on Raw? Was it Seth Rollins and Buddy Murphy and somebody like that that was just bouncing him around every goddamn week? And I was like, man, Humberto, Sheamus, that's who it was. I was like, man, Humberto, with the right push and with the right package, he could be something. Now they found it. The Lethal Lovers, Los Lotharios. This rules. This could be really good. Give them some sparkly jackets, like kind of like who am I thinking of? like Greg Valentine, like some robes or something. Where they can slowly undress, kind of like Rick Rude. The tearaway pants with Angel Garza is fantastic shit. I love the tearaway pants. I would gimmick the fuck out of these 2 dudes, man, and push them as my top tag team. I really love these dudes. So having said that, now we got to talk about Big E. So a lot of people are mad. Ryan Satin is mad. So many other people are mad that Big E was the WWE champion a month ago, and now he's back in a tag team, losing to Los Lotharios in the opening match of Smackdown. And to me, I barely noticed it. I'm not even going to hold you up, dog. I barely noticed it. I looked at this and was like, oh, yeah, you're right. That did occur. Am I mad about that? No. I don't care, man. Big E is cool and all, but I didn't see him as being that he needed to be the guy. I thought he would win the Royal Rumble because I thought they were going to go back to him after they took the belt from him. I was like, okay, well, clearly they're not done with him. They'll just go back to him eventually. They do go back to people eventually. I mean, that's how WWE books things. They feel like they can just heat you up whenever. They don't believe in momentum. They think that, okay, we'll throw some logs under the fire, and we'll throw some logs on the fire when we get ready, and then everybody will accept it, and we won't have to do any more work. Instead of, being consistent and consistently pushing him to stay relevant, they're kind of like, we'll get back to him in like fucking May or something, So I don't know. I don't believe it'll be the end. New Day can't be tag team champions anyway. At least I think that was part of the rule for them wrestling the Usos. They couldn't wrestle for the tag team titles again anyway, right? Maybe that's why they're not calling them New Day, so they can try to rejigger those rules by giving them a tag team title match, even though they can't under the rules of the stipulation of the match that they had a couple of weeks ago. But I feel bad for Big E only because I know he worked really, really hard as the WWE champion. He did all the publicity, and he was doing the UFC stuff. He was doing the boxing stuff. He was really out there on ESPN. He was, doing all kind of shit for Hot 97 and the Breakfast Club. He was really out there getting it, But it's a different time of the year, man. This is a time where the big money players start coming in. It's WrestleMania season. He might get it back in like June or something during the downtime. Like he might get it back in like fucking August or something. But now they're kind of focused on the big money players. And, Big E's not a big money player, not by himself, not yet. But he's like 35 or something like that, and he's already got a taste of being there. They went back to Lashley, so I believe they'll probably go back to Big E eventually. I'm 100% in on the Los Lotharios. I like them, and the match was pretty good too. These two teams are not missing; they're having good matches. So the Viking Raiders were supposed to have a promo that got jumped by the Usos. The Usos then stole their horns and helmets and whatnot. Can we get rid of the Viking Raiders? Can we shoot them into the sun too? I want to strap the Bullet Club, all of them, with the exception of Jay White. All the rest of them, G.O.D., okay, not G.O.D., not Jay White, but all the rest of them, strap them to one rocket. And then I want to strap that rocket to another rocket which features all the other motherfuckers I don't like, which will now include the Viking Raiders, and strap all those motherfuckers together and then seed them to the fucking universe. Just into the atmosphere. I don't care where they go after that. Just get them the fuck off this planet. The Viking Raiders have been in WWE for far too long already. And they're getting cornier and cornier and cornier. They didn't even say anything this week. This was just me snapping. I was just kind of like, I'm sick of looking at these fucking guys. Like, I'm just tired of it. I'm pretty sure they might win the tag team titles, but I'm sick of this shit. I'm sick of the Viking Raiders. They're just so bland. They just suck so bad. And I don't care about how awesome they were on the indies. I don't give a shit. I'm judging off of what I'm looking at right now. It's not good. I want to fire them into the fucking sun. This is the only Usos thing we saw for them tonight, so they're really being diminished. So Roman Reigns and then Goldberg. I'm over 30 minutes into this thing before I talked about Roman Reigns. All right. So Roman Reigns sat down with Michael Cole. Michael Cole, of course, juiced up Goldberg by saying, oh, this is a guy who won over 100 matches straight in WCW. And Roman said if he was in WCW, everybody would be winning because they still be in business. Then said 2 years ago, Goldberg would have had a chance, but it's different now. He's still in God mode. He's going to smash Goldberg. He going to Goldberg. And people were kind of like, okay, what did that mean? What that mean, bruh? You know what it means. You know what it means. Michael Cole then did a sit down with Bill Goldberg. Asked him the question, is this one comeback too many? And Goldberg says he been listening to those people. He heard those people. But listening to them is what got him off his game in recent years. He said, no, This is the one that's going to be everlasting. This is the one that's going to stick. It might be different for Roman, but I'm the same Goldberg. And that this thing should have happened 10 years ago. It should have happened 15 years ago. It's been a long time coming. And nobody's going to Goldberg me. Because there's only one Goldberg. And, of course, he said that this match should have happened 15 years ago. Roman would have been, what, 20? He wouldn't even been in the business yet. Goldberg was going to beat up a young college Roman Reigns. I'm going to beat the shit out of Joe. I know I am. I'm going to beat the shit out of this guy. He's going to get out of the time machine and show up at his dorm. Knock his ass out. You going to challenge me in 15 years? Fuck you. Goldberg, man. That man is living CTE. I swear, man. That's all the concussions he give himself. Of course he's going to go out there and botch this promo. He ramming his head against metal doors and shit. Goldberg is too fired up. It's just too much. But at least I understood what he was trying to say. He's trying to say, hey, man, everybody trying to psych me out by talking about how old I am. But I'm focused. I'm me. I can do it. I can beat him, and I'm going to go and beat him and beat Brock, too. You know, he's got to have that confidence in himself. But we know he's not going to win. It's all about how he's going to lose. I think he should probably going to catch that guillotine boy. That's probably going to be it. But it would be nice if Roman was to break out a jackhammer. That would be nice. I didn't mind the sit downs though. I thought the sit downs were pretty good. I like when they do sit downs for big title matches. It makes everything feel more important. I actually like the idea of the sit down interview because they don't use it that often, and they should certainly use it a lot more than they actually do. It's unfortunate they don't use it that often. But Goldberg and Roman Reigns, they didn't really put a lot of juice behind them because the names are what's selling the show. They don't have to. Aaliyah was defeated by Natalya via sharpshooter in a pin or submission only match. Aaliyah crawled to the ropes while she was in the sharpshooter, but the referee did not have to break the hold. So she was holding the ropes, and then she tapped out on the ring apron. Natalya wins. After the match, Natalya continued to stomp and beat on Aaliyah until Xia Li came out there to make the save. So Xia Li isn't in the negative zone. She continues to not be fired nor in the negative zone. Therefore, Xia Li wins. She's winning. She's doing well. You're not fired, not in the negative zone, just, hanging out and catering, waiting for them to find you a spot. I mean, that's nice. That's nice. Natalya versus Xia Li. I don't know how I feel about that, but I do know how I feel about Natalya, and it ain't good. It ain't good. I don't like Natalya. Everybody knows that. We got Insane segment featuring Shinsuke Nakamura. But first, Johnny Knoxville went to the WWE store and defaced some Sami Zayn merchandise. He found a poster and wrote "loser" on it, and then threw some shirts and stuff into a wood chipper. This is actually pretty fun. So Zayn said he's not going to let Johnny Knoxville and his antics distract him. He's going to focus on the task at hand, which is his live podcast and the Intercontinental title. He's going to deal with Johnny Knoxville some other time. Nakamura came out there, and Sami Zayn said that he's been number one contender for 6 weeks. Nakamura has been ducking him, and that he knows that Shinsuke Nakamura has been secretly working with Johnny Knoxville to distract him. And Nakamura was like, huh? Then Nakamura asked Sami Zayn, has he seen the movie? And Sami Zayn was like, didn't you see? I got thrown out of the premiere. He's like, no, the movie called Jackass Defeated. And it's just so stupid. It was so stupid. So Sami Zayn says that he used to have so much respect for Nakamura. I used to be in your corner. I was your great liberator. Now you're going to hang out with this shaved gorilla. With this push broom mustache. Holy shit. Holy guacamole, Rick Boogs. So Boogs tells Sami Zayn to shut up. He then touches the microphone, and somehow it was like a moth in one of those bug zappers. He's like, zoop, and he's like, oh, and fell over. And I was like, what's going on here? Now, you can say that the microphone was booby trapped, okay. But I'm pretty sure Nakamura's face was on that thing. I'm pretty sure his face was on it. Anyway, Rick Boogs has a seizure, and Nakamura bends over to see what happened to him and try to help him out, and gets Haluva kicked in the head. And so they finally put some heat on Sami Zayn. They did it in the weirdest way possible, by booby trapping a microphone to electrocute Rick Boogs. What the fuck? Why is everybody getting electrocuted all of a sudden? Ever since they introduced that shock stick, that's all they've been doing, is trying to shock stick each other. Is it going to do a Mountie shock stick on a pole match? Is the Mountie about to be put in the Hall of Fame? Oh no, wait a minute. We haven't even talked about that yet. They have not announced any Hall of Famers yet. They haven't announced any. You can't tell me they're going to have a Hall of Fame. There's only going to be like one person in it. Like, everybody thinks it's the Undertaker's year, and I believe so too. But there have to be more than that, right? There has to be like a class. And then you have the 2020 class, who a lot of them are trying to wait for the pandemic to kind of blow over. Because I think Batista was one of those guys that was introduced in the Hall of Fame, but he said he wanted to do his speech after the pandemic. So maybe he'll show up to do his Hall of Fame speech or something like that. I don't know. But they didn't announce any Hall of Famers. Wait a minute, I got off the subject. Yeah, it doesn't matter. I say everything I needed to say. Sami Zayn and Shinsuke Nakamura. It's going to be a fun match. I really wish they would have built this feud over that piece of business where Sami Zayn used to be Nakamura's manager, and we could have just played up how well he knows Nakamura, rather than go the conspiracy route where he's talking about him working with Johnny Knoxville. That's kind of silly, but it's also well within the wheelhouse of Sami Zayn to be a conspiracy theorist and think everybody else is out to get him. So, Happy Corbin, the undefeated Happy Corbin, which triggered the hell out of me because I didn't realize it. He defeated Cesaro, who didn't get an entrance, and I don't even think he even got introduced. Madcap Moss had a black eye backstage. He said he won't be at ringside. They kept saying how Madcap Moss was indisposed due to his black eye that he got from this Claymore. After the match, Madcap Moss was trying to get the referees and doctors and everything to throw out his match with Drew McIntyre in Saudi Arabia by saying he shouldn't be medically cleared. To which the doctor somehow, for some reason, allowed Drew McIntyre in the examination room with a sword. Now, I mean, you can't stop a guy with a sword if he wants to. If he wants to get in the room, he's in the room. You feel me? It also seemed like it was a hallway with like that was just pictures of like a guy playing Operation and back just stapled to the walls and shit. It was like a hallway. It wasn't even like a real room. God, everybody's getting so fucking lazy. Staircases, and we're going to turn a hallway into a doctor's office. Anyway, Drew McIntyre, of course, threatened him again with the sword and said that their match is going to be no falls count anywhere. And Madcap Moss was like, oh boy. Yeah, sure, I guess. I don't want to get skewered. At least not right now, so it's falls count anywhere. That doesn't make me want to see it. They could have that match out on the high seas, man. I need to get like them. That sounds like one of those crazy Onita ideas. You need to get them like a rubber boat, and they go out there and have a match in the middle of the fucking Atlantic Ocean or something like that. I don't want to see that match. I don't want to see Madcap Moss versus Drew McIntyre. I don't want to see it. It sucks. Here's the thing. People who are mad that Big E has fallen off a cliff, look at Drew McIntyre. He's also fallen off a fucking cliff. You wouldn't even known he was world champion if you watched this show and you probably ain't seen it in a while. You'd probably be like, oh, that Drew McIntyre guy, he walks around with a sword. It's like, yeah, that's pretty much all he does is walk around with a sword now. He doesn't do anything else. He just threatens people with his sword all day. That's it. That's the crux of his character. He doesn't cut promos anymore. He has no focus. He has no direction. He's a big star with no plans at WrestleMania. He's the white Big E. That's what he is. He is the white Big E. Baron Corbin, however, is the male Natalia. Oh boy, I'm burnt on Happy Corbin. Burnt the fuck out on Happy Corbin. Every single fucking week. Can we have just a month off from Happy Corbin, please? He sucks. He sucks so bad, man. I don't even care about his matches. I don't care about his matches. The characterization is awful. They said, oh, since he became rich, man, he hasn't been beaten. And I'm like, oh, okay. I guess since he changed his name to Happy Corbin, he has been undefeated. But I don't like this character. I don't like this characterization. I want him to go bye-bye. I want him to go away. Put him on the rocket. All right? Let's strap that motherfucker to the rocket. Madcap Moss, change his character. I won't put him on the rocket just yet. But it's been years and years and years of fucking Corbin. All right? I'm talking, he debuted in 2014 or something like that? It's been a good 7 years of Corbin. He needs to be the rocket. I mean, he needs to have like jet fuel shoved up his ass and lit on fire. And he go right into fucking space. Get him the fuck out of here. I cannot stand this guy. You can drop an anvil on that motherfucker or something. I don't know. I'm tired of Corbin. He can go away. All right, so there is one more thing that I guess I can discuss. Soul Man Rocky Johnson got a nice little feature on Black History Month from The Rock, who did the voiceover for his dad, told us basically the story of his dad's career and how his dad, paved the way for him. Very nice emotional piece. I like that. I would like for them to do more of these with other Black wrestlers. I would like that, especially to celebrate some of the legacies of people who don't really always get celebrated. Such as Tony Atlas. Tony Atlas was seen kind of like a B player in this situation, even though Tony Atlas was the guy I saw everywhere. When I watch old tapes, I see Tony Atlas all the time. I don't really see Rocky Johnson that often. I know he wrestled mostly in Canada and in Hawaii, I believe. But I saw Tony Atlas pretty much everywhere, when I watch these old tapes. I would like for him to get a little bit more credit. I know that, when it comes to Soul Man Rocky Johnson, not only is he dead, but, he's The Rock's dad, and that's his greatest contribution to the business. Despite the fact that he was a tremendous talent, he was The Rock's dad. So he's can't beat that, unless you're the dad of somebody else who's a major star. But it was a very nice feature. I liked it. I hope they do more of those. I would appreciate that, especially on some of the Black wrestlers who don't always get celebrated. Like I would love one from Jazz. I'm really pushing for Jazz to get in the Hall of Fame and to get featured more on WWE TV. Like she deserves it for real. Like she's legit. And I want a little bit of stuff on her. I'm pretty sure that they do continue to do these. Definitely going to be one on Ron Simmons. Probably most definitely going to be one on Jacqueline. But there needs to be one on Jazz too. There's probably some other people out there who need one as well. That, could be really fun. And people who the business takes seriously and has a tremendous amount of respect for. And yeah, Ernie Ladd too. They don't talk about Ernie Ladd enough in WWE. I know he wasn't a huge part of like the golden era of WWE, which is the 80s, but he did work there in the 60s. He's one of the main opponents for Bruno. So he has like a long history in WWE. So I would really love for them to put some more effort into, Ernie Ladd, talking about how great he was and how he's a standard bearer, especially for Black wrestlers getting in pay. It was guys like him that really kind of pushed for Black wrestlers not only to main event, but to get paid more in the business. So I definitely think that Ernie Ladd deserves more credit. But it's all about WWE picking and choosing who the hell they're going to support, and that's just kind of how we get down. We start with PR bullshit. We end with PR bullshit. All right, so it was a mediocre episode of Smackdown. I talked about everything except Smackdown for the first, 15 minutes. But hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. like, share, and subscribe. I'll talk to you guys later, man. Peace.